What a race weekend is all I gotta say. Just wow. Hello guys, welcome here to Out of Turn 4. My name is Brian, as you can tell by, sorry, down there. My name's Brian. Sorry. Anyway, this is Out of Turn 4. Coming up on the show, we are going to talk a lot of silly season. Of course, I promised this last week. I couldn't follow through because I just had too much going on and I literally recorded right before leaving for work. Now I have a little bit of extra time to go in depth, so we will be doing that today here on Out of Turn 4. But before we do that, we have one race to recap, and that is the Busch Light Clash from the Coliseum. So Joey Logano, he is the official main event winner from the Coliseum. He held off Kyle Busch, who was probably the best car all day, with the exception of Tyler Reddick. Of course, Reddick, he damaged something. I believe the transaxle was the end result as to why he didn't finish the race. Needless to say, Joey Logano is the first winner in the next-gen car. So I'm just going to give my thoughts here on the racing. First off, I got to give a hats off to NASCAR. They tried something new, and to me it worked, okay? Those who are complaining, oh, well, the seats didn't sell out, it wasn't a sellout race. It wasn't anything special. Shut up. That's all I'm going to say. You guys, the ones who are doing it are always the negative Nancy's. They're always the negative Nancy's here, okay? Let's take a look at the positive. The last few years, the Clash has drawn, according to Jeff Gluck, about 5,000 fans. 5,000 at most. So this is a drastic improvement. I mean, there were a lot of seats that were empty, but for the most part, I would say about 75-80% of the venue was full. So I gotta give a round of applause to NASCAR. They put on a hell of a show. The halftime show, or mid-race show, was pretty impressive. I'm not a fan of rap. I am, however, I do like Ice Cube. I can respect him, and he put on a heck of a show. I heard Pitbull put on a hell of a show as well. So overall, it looks like it was a good start to the race. And of course, the racing itself was pretty good. I mean, it was pretty good racing. I mean, the whole race, I was just entertained all around. So, needless to say, it was a good weekend for racing. It was a big win for race fans and, of course, the LA market. Again, big experiment. I think it paid off. It will lead to more events like this in the future, where I think they can improve. Now, again, for those who don't know, if you're new to the program, I am a basketball coach. I think I say this on every show that I do. So, of course, I always tell my players there's things they can do better. There's things we can improve on. And needless to say, there are things NASCAR can improve on, but not so much in the race itself. What I think they can improve on involves the technical stuff, and it will get there. It's very, very minor. So I wouldn't say this race was perfect, but I would just say, the issues, I believe a throttle cable for Chase Briscoe in practice, transaxle problems for Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick. I think the steering wires broke on another car. Stupid mechanical issues like that. There's things that NASCAR and teams need to work on in terms of that. Okay, these kinds of mechanical failures, I guess it's good that it happened in the Clash. It's never a good thing to see, period, but the fact that it happened in the Busch Light Clash is good because there weren't points at stake. Yes, the sponsors leave a little bit upset because, hey, you didn't finish the event. But at the end of the day, you're not losing points, which is the important thing, especially in a championship that's going to be pretty interesting to call, to say the least. Of course, we'll discuss that on next week's episode because there is no racing this upcoming weekend. so we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. But yeah, the stupid little mechanical things. It could also be because of the short track. Tony Stewart did mention that as a potential issue. He did mention it as a potential issue, that it could have been just with how small the track was, not much air circulating. And that's a possibility that it's true. And can I just say that Tony Stewart was the highlight of the race as well? I'm not going to lie. I loved watching Tony Stewart call the race, and I certainly hope he and Fox both look at this and say, man, you need to stay. Like, come on, man, stay. We'll pay. You got to dish him some money. I mean, him and Boyer and Mike Joy, they just meshed. They meshed pretty well together. Honestly, that was the best I've seen the Fox booth do in a really long time. So I certainly hope they will consider Tony Stewart for the full-time gig. And I certainly hope Tony Stewart will entertain that offer. And, if you think the same, put it below. Let me know what you thought on Tony Stewart's job in the booth. Let me know what you think about the Clash as well. What were your thoughts on it? And I will try to read through and reply to any comments that I can. Anyway, let's go on to the silly season. This is the part that I wanted to discuss last week. I just didn't have the time to do so. Unfortunately, deadlines got to be met, and some things had to get cut in order to meet the deadline. So my sincere apologies for this. So we start off, of course, there is still little word on what is going to go on with the NASCAR Xfinity teams. We don't know anything about Joe Gibbs Racing other than they're going to be a 3-car team. We don't know who the drivers are going to be. We can assume, we know Brandon Jones will be one of those drivers. What we don't know is who will be the driver of the second and the third car. If I had to guess, at this moment, again, a lot can change between Sunday night when I'm recording and when you guys are watching this. My most likely guess is Ty Gibbs will drive the 18, and the 20 will be the All-Star car. The All-Star car with Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Christopher Bell, maybe Corey Haim or Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith has earned that right, and then of course John Hunter might run a race or two. That's what I would anticipate happening at this point in time. And then, of course, Team Penske announced they won't be running in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this season. That's a bummer. A big Ford team out of the picture now. Other than that, Junior Motorsports confirmed their lineups. Colleague confirmed their lineups. We'll talk about that in a moment. But on to the NASCAR Cup Series ones. Of course, Justin Haley was announced to be the driver of Colleague Racing's one of their full-time vehicles, and it is announced that Justin Haley will drive the number 31 for Colleague Racing. I believe Leaf Filter will back most of the season. As far as who will drive that second car, Allmendinger's name floated around, and in fact he will be in the ride for, I believe, the majority of those races. Noah Gragson will also be in the ride, as will defending NASCAR Xfinity Series champion Daniel Hemrick. And of course, all three of those guys will split the ride this season. I don't have the full schedule, but you can look it up online. And I just don't have time to read off all the races these guys will be running in. Rick Ware Racing has announced that they will form a tech alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing, as well as cut down to a 2-car program. Cody Ware will return full-time in the number 51, sponsored by Nurtec ODT. And David Reagan will be driving a handful of races in the number 15 for Rick Ware Racing. Joining Rick Ware Racing as well this season, JTG Doherty, their former driver, and now Stewart-Haas reserve driver Ryan Preece will be behind the wheel of the number 15 for a handful of races himself. He will also be behind the wheel of a few NASCAR Xfinity races with SS Greenlight Racing, as well as David Gillen racing in the Truck Series. So a good signing by Stewart-Haas Racing. You know, Ryan Preece has shown a lot of promise. He might just be that Alex Bowman that Ford needs. Of course, Alex Bowman was a reserve driver for Hendrick Motorsports the year Dale Jr. suffered that season-ending concussion, and we all know what happened that season for the 88 team. I imagine maybe similar will happen for Ryan Preece, as of course Eric Almarola. A surprise announcement here, Eric Almarola will be retiring at the end of the 2022 season. There's no replacement announced yet. I imagine Smithfield will leave the team. I believe Zach Carmine has said on this show, or he has said to me in private, it looks like the people in charge at Smithfield, I'm not big racing fans, so don't be shocked if you hear Smithfield leaving the sport at the end of the season. Eric Almarola, he's had an up and down career, kind of just been all over, you know, and to be honest, it's kind of good that he's stepping away. I mean, he has been the second best in the Stewart-Haas stable. There's no denying that. But to be honest, you know, he just didn't do well last year. He somehow squeaked into the playoffs with that win at New Hampshire, but outside of that, he really wasn't that flashy. He's won races, but, you know, just not a guy that can contend for a championship, and certainly there are guys in the Xfinity Series as well as Ryan Preece who will be considered for this ride. I imagine Ryan Preece will land it, but of course still way too early to tell. It is only February 8th, so we won't know probably for multiple weeks or months until they make a final decision. One guy I had at the top of my free agency list, if you remember earlier this year, I was talking top free agents entering the 2022 season, and Matt Benedetto was on that list. Well, he is taking a few steps back. He is going down to the Camping World Truck Series, where he will compete for Rookie of the Year, driving the number 25 for Rackley War. I think this is good. I thought for sure he'd land an Xfinity ride. I was thinking maybe that Colleague number 10, but he just didn't have the sponsorship backing. You know, then I thought maybe, you know, Joe Gibbs will sign him to a part-time deal. You know, one of the top Xfinity teams I figured would sign him, maybe even Sam Hunt. But it didn't pan out that way. He goes down to trucks. It's like I said, it's good for him. Honestly, I think he can really rebuild and rejuvenate his career in the Camping World Truck Series and maybe even contend for some wins. And I think he can help Rackley War grow as an organization. You know, they didn't have the best opening to the season, and certainly his leadership can help them in many ways, especially because he is a pretty good road course racer. He's pretty good at road course and short track races. So those are areas that he can help that team improve. I wish Matty Dean nothing but the best. Maybe with his luck, if he does well this year, maybe he ends up, who knows, maybe he ends up at Our Motorsports next season in the number 02 or 23 or 27. That's another big announcement, of course. I don't have that one listed, but they will expand to 3 cars. Jeb Burton's driving one of them. Yeah, Brett Moffitt's in another. I actually have to look this up. My bad, guys. I didn't expect to talk about Our Motorsports here. Anthony Alfredo in the number 23, Brett Moffitt in the 02, and Jeb Burton in the number 27. So a step down for Alfredo, and potentially a good move for his career. He just wasn't ready to go cup racing just yet. He struggled a lot last season, and needless to say, you know, he was very much in the shadow. This goes without saying. He was very much in the shadow of his teammate, Michael McDowell. So, and he can learn a lot from Brett Moffitt, a Truck Series champ. He can learn a lot from Jeb Burton, who's coming over from Colleague Racing. So there's a lot to be learned. And he'll be back in the Cup Series. I think he will be, especially with this tech alliance with Richard Childress. I imagine he'll be back very soon. Speaking of Front Row Motorsports, Todd Gillen, he is making a big leap. He is jumping from the Truck Series up to the NASCAR Cup Series to replace Anthony Alfredo in the number 38. I'm not going to lie, I don't like this signing. What do you want me to say? I don't like it. This is, John Hunter was a good signing for them. John Hunter also made the right choice to move back to the Truck Series and join Kyle Busch Motorsports. Anthony Alfredo wasn't quite ready for the Cup level. He went back to Xfinity, did the right thing. I just don't think Todd Gillen was ready for Cup racing. I think maybe one more season in trucks wouldn't have hurt. Maybe then he moves up to Xfinity. But this is too much of a leap for him. And I think he's really going to get punished by doing this big jump. I mean, on the other hand, though, he's jumping up in a season with uncertainty, of course, surrounding the next-gen car. New drive, new way to drive, so maybe, just maybe it works in his favor. That's a possibility. But I just don't see it happening. I think he is kind of a weak candidate, but I certainly hope he proves me wrong and everyone else wrong. Moving forward, GMS, Richard Petty, they formed an alliance. They are now Petty GMS Motorsports. They will be fielding number 42 for Ty Dillon and the number 43 for Eric Jones. And I like this. I think Petty GMS Motorsports, I think they will be competitive. And if the Clash shows anything, this team will be running up front a little bit in this season. Ty Dillon, he showed some brilliance with Germain Racing in his last season there. He did okay last season driving for Our Motorsports. Of course, he had a few starts with Joe Gibbs Racing. Didn't get to victory lane, but boy, if he did, that would have been something as well. But needless to say, it's good to see Ty Dillon back in the Cup Series and trying to make a name for himself outside of Grandpa's organization. As far as Eric Jones goes, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this is a great position for him at Richard Petty's team and, of course, now Maury Gallagher's team. I think he's a really talented young driver. I think, this is a great chance for him to revive his career, and he certainly showed it in the Clash. And I certainly hope he'll continue to show it because I think Joe Gibbs made a mistake getting rid of him. But at the same time, I also think he wasn't a fit at Joe Gibbs Racing. That could also be a big part of it. So, that's all I will say on that. Landon Castle, he is returning part-time to the NASCAR Cup Series, driving for Spire Motorsports. He will also be driving full-time for Colleague Racing in the number 10 with sponsorship from Voyager, one of the many cryptocurrency sponsors. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started on that. But this is huge for Landon Castle. Very huge opportunity for him. Spire is a team that is capable, as they showed with Justin Haley a few years ago. This is a team capable of winning races. And I think this season they are very capable of winning a race or two. And I think Landon Castle can do it. And I also think he can help this organization grow. Landon Castle doesn't crash cars. Look at Starcom's progress when Landon Castle was the driver. He did a lot to help that organization. And then, of course, Quinn Houff destroyed it. But needless to say, though, Landon Castle was a big part in Starcom's success early on. He will also be a big part in Colleague Racing's Xfinity Series success. He will be critical in that role, as he'll be joining Daniel Hemrick. This is now a no-excuse campaign for Landon Castle. He's got to win, and I think he can win with Colleague Racing. I really think he can win in that car. I wouldn't even be shocked to see him contending in the Cup car, running top 20 every week, maybe running top 15. Hell, I think he's going to get a top 5 at Daytona, if not a top 10, if he stays out of trouble. But one guy that might cause trouble in the Daytona 500 is Jacques Villeneuve, of course, the former Formula One champion, the former Indy 500 winner. He will be attempting to start his first Daytona 500 with Team Hesseberg. And he will be running multiple races along with Laura Hesemann. Do I need to comment on this? Because honestly, I think this Jacques Villeneuve is good for the entertainment standpoint. That's about it. He's not good with making friends. That's where I'll leave that. The other big entry, of course, Kaz Grala. We talked about the money team last week on the show briefly. It is official. Kaz Grala will drive the number 50 for the money team, Floyd Mayweather. And this is a big signing because Kaz Grala, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, he's a guy that should be full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. I just wish there were more seats available for him. And frankly, if he didn't get that seat, I was really, really banking on the fact that he would get that Colleague seat. But I'm glad to see Landon Castle get that. Maybe, just maybe, Kaz Grala will be in the future cards for Colleague. We'll see. And, of course, I think he can also put up a top 10 for the money team. But it's all going to depend how they come into Daytona. I'm a little skeptical because they didn't test. They're going to be a little bit at a disadvantage entering Daytona, as will this other team that has not been confirmed yet, but likely to happen. We mentioned Greg Biffle has been getting fitted for seats at ECR or at the RCR shop, and chances are he will be driving the number 44 in the Daytona 500, bringing the entry total to 41, meaning one car will go home next week when we race at Daytona. Greg Biffle's, this would be his first start since 2016, a full 5.5 years since his last start in the NASCAR Cup Series when he left Roush Fenway Racing. And of course, this is going to be New York Racing's first attempt since 2018. Another team that's going to be at a disadvantage, but one of them's going to make the field. I just don't know if it's going to be New York Racing. I think they'd be wise to maybe sit this one out. But at the same time, having a driver like Biffle, he can help this organization make the field. And we will, of course, we will see what happens with that. Finally, on the silly season rundown, of course, this is a story I wanted to talk about so badly. But ESPN is looking to take over the NASCAR Cup rights from NBC. Of course, those contracts expire in the next few years. ESPN last held rights in 2014. I believe 2025 or 2024 is when the Cup or the TV rights get renegotiated. You all know my opinions on NBC Sports and their coverage. You all know, and I will tell you, I think they're a pretty distant third place to ESPN and, of course, to Fox Sports. I think they've got the right people. I think Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, hell, I'll even say Rick Allen's been a great asset to them. I think they put together an okay booth. I think they show effort in wanting to get better. But the problem is they treat motorsports like a second-rate. They treat them like basically time-filling slots, basically. I just don't think NBC should retain their rights. But do you want to see ESPN again? And, of course, this would be good because Alan Bestwick would likely probably be the play-by-play. So I would like to see it from the standpoint of getting Alan Bestwick back, if that's the case, if he wants to come back. I don't like this from the standpoint of it's ESPN taking the rights, because something tells me they might take Xfinity again. They'd take the second half of the Xfinity schedule, and something tells me that they will make some races exclusive to ESPN Plus, with one race maybe on ABC. Same with the Cup Series. I just don't think, with the exception of Daytona, if the schedule stays the same, Daytona race 26 and Phoenix race 36, I don't see them putting any races on ABC. I could see them putting a lot of races exclusive to ESPN Plus. I just don't like this, to be honest. I think it's going to hurt more than it's going to help. I get we're heading in the direction of streaming, but there's still a lot of fans who are stuck in their ways. They're old-fashioned. It's good because it will cater to the 18 to 49 demographic, but you're going to chase away a lot more key fans, I think, if you go that route. Something tells me, too, when NASCAR gets renegotiated, if they choose NBC, the same thing will happen. I don't think there's many ways around this. CBS, I have said in the past, they've got golf coverage. But other than that, what do they have besides March Madness and golf? But here's the problem. CBS Sports Network, not a reliable network. Okay, a very under-advertised network. Probably not in as many households. So chances are some races would, or actually a majority of races would be exclusive to Paramount Plus. And obviously the best bet for CBS to get any rights would be taking over for Fox. And again, regardless of where they take over, you're looking at streaming. You're looking at streaming for a lot of races, or tape-delayed races. But I guess ESPN wouldn't be a bad option. So long as they get the booth right, so long as they commit to, the effort that NBC has put in recent years, and actually treat it like a first-rate sport instead of changing networks just because red flags last too long, the race goes into overtime, what have you. Again, we'll see what happens. We're running out of time here, so I just want to say real quick, thank you guys for watching. Of course, as I noted, we will be back next Tuesday, and we are going to discuss our predictions for the upcoming season in racing. We will primarily focus on Cup Series predictions. We'll also talk a lot of Xfinity and truck predictions in terms of champions, who we think will make the championship, playoffs, all that, and more. Then on Friday, Friday, February 18th, tune in at noon Eastern. If you have a lunch break, be sure to take it at noon, because we will be live, or we won't be live, but we will be here on Facebook and YouTube. We will be previewing the Daytona 500, the Next Era 250, and the Beef 250, the Beef 300. That'll all be coming your way on Friday, February 18th, noon Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. It's going to be the Daytona 500 special. I'll be recapping Speed Weeks. I will also be getting you set for all three events. Big week coming up next week here on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. We want to thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow for No Final Bell, and I'll see you back here on Sunday for the Super Bowl special, with our newly rebranded Sunday Morning Tinkle. Until then, guys, goodbye, everyone.